AWS networks grow fast. VPCs accumulate. Peerings get added. Subnets get wired in. And somewhere in that growth, visibility disappears. Netway is how engineering and security teams get it back. Across security, compliance, and cost in one scan. Before I show you the product, let me show you what the visibility gap actually costs. IBM puts the average cost of a cloud data breach at $4 million per incident. By the time you add up the investigation, customer notification, regulatory response, and the business you lose, that number adds up fast. What's striking is that the majority of these breaches trace back to a network path that should never have existed. Nobody put it there intentionally. Nobody knew it was there. The compliance side is just as exposed. PCI DSS fines run from $5,000 to $100,000 per month. One isolation violation in a compliance audit is enough to trigger that. And your QSA will find it before you do. And it is not just security. Gartner estimates that 30% of cloud spend is wasted. Network transfer charges are among the least visible contributors. S3 traffic routing through NAT cross AZ database calls are standard architecture patterns that compound silently every month. The bill tells you what you spent. It doesn't tell you why or what to fix. None of these are architecture failures. They are visibility failures. What you can't see, you can't fix. Let me be specific about where these gaps appear. Because they show up in the same three places in almost every account. First, isolation breach. Production and staging connected through a VPC peering nobody documented. The path exists, traffic can flow, nobody in the room knows it's there. Second, compliance gap. Your PCI scoped environment is reachable from a non PCI network. Your QSA will find it. Your audit will be delayed. Third, invisible cost. S3 traffic routing through NAT when a free VPC endpoint exists. The default private subnet setup does this. Every new service does it without knowing. It compounds at scale. None of these announce themselves. Each one grows silently until an incident, an audit, or a bill makes it unavoidable. Netway addresses all three. One Lambda function deployed into your AWS account. Netway maps your network. It evaluates your isolation rules and flags violations. Every breach is recorded in an immutable history. One click generates a signed PDF for your auditor. Netway analyzes your VPC flow logs, identifies the waste pattern, names the resource, quantifies the monthly charge, and gives you the exact fix command. Let me show you a demo. What I am going to show you is a 7 VPC environment: production, staging, and development. Here's the topology. 3 environment groups: production, staging, and development. Production has 3 VPCs on a transit gateway. Staging has 2, also on the transit gateway. And you can see there is a direct VPC peering between staging API and prod API that arc at the top. Development has 2 VPCs, no transit gateway, no connectivity, completely isolated. We will run one scan. I'll show you what Netway finds. The topology graph. 7 nodes grouped automatically by environment from VPC tags. Production. 3 VPCs connected by transit gateway, clean internally. Staging also clean within its group. The red line, that is the VPC peering, a direct path from staging into prod, outside the transit gateway. This path should not exist, and Netway is the first thing that flagged it. 2 dev nodes with no edges are orphaned VPCs. One of the VPC has CIDR conflict. Production and dev share the same address space, is also surfaced here. 3 findings visible in one graph before anyone ran a pen test or read a CloudTrail log. Now, let's look at what this means for your audit. The Compliance tab. One rule defined: production must not connect to staging. This rule is violated. Production carries PCI scope. So, under PCI DSS requirements, this is an automatic audit finding. One click on the dashboard downloads this report. The top section is the control assessment. Every PCI DSS and SOC2 control that Netway covers are evaluated automatically against the scan results. You can see we have violations on PCI 1.3.1, 1.3.2, and SOC2 CC6.6 and CC6.7. All of them trace back to the same finding: production connecting to staging. The report also includes the full topology diagram and a change log of every topology change. A VPC connectivity matrix showing every cross-environment path. Now, let us see the cost tab. Netway has detected S3 traffic routing through the NAT gateway. Let me show you what's actually happening in the network. Here's the setup: a private subnet with a NAT gateway, but no S3 VPC endpoint. This is how most VPCs are configured by default. An EC2 instance in the private subnet running S3 operations. Traffic flows from EC2 to S3 via NAT gateway out through the internet and back. That's the waste pattern. There is a cost for every gigabyte that goes through NAT gateway. Netway names the instance, VPC, and region. Monthly cost is given. And here's the fix: one AWS CLI command costs nothing to run. This is from a small demo. In a real production account, a data pipeline writing terabytes of data to S3 can cost hundreds of dollars every month. Netway found it, named it, costed it, and gave you the exact command to fix it. One scan, 4 findings, none of them visible in the AWS console. Isolation breach, CIDR conflict, orphaned VPCs, S3 via NAT. Everything you just saw, these are the common scenarios in cloud environments that have grown organically. If you have more than a handful of VPCs, these patterns are almost certainly there. The question isn't whether they exist. The question is whether you know about them. Before your auditor does, before a breach happens, or before the bill arrives. Visit netway.basavitics.com. Register and run a scan. One stack, 15 minutes, and you will know exactly what's in your network. If you have any questions, email us at support@basavitics.com.